three dads, three loving husbands, of course, on that Valentine's Day. What's it like to be you guys today?
It's a good feeling.
Is it?
Yeah, we already have something planned for our wives. I know Cece and I, we have daughters, so this morning I was running a little bit late to our production meeting because I had to make sure I left the Valentine's Day card outside of Mia Pearl's door.
It's the best thing.
So it's the first thing she sees when she leaves for school. Because I don't want them little snotty-nosed boys get in my daughter's car.
You got to treat it.
Do you feel like you get loved enough on this day? That's what I'm trying to get. You guys do?
Yes,
okay.
Husbands get lots of loves. Every day is Valentine's Day for us.
So it's kind of my first Valentine's Day. It's normally pitchers and catchers, so this is like a new thing for me.
Did you remember it?
I did. I feel like I'm doing pretty good so far. I'm off to a good start. We'll see. We'll see how the day goes.
It's the first
pretty
quarter,
early. It's pretty early.
It's time for the lead block. Hey, Nate, in honor of Valentine's Day, let's talk about a team that you love very much that has a big piece of your heart. It's the Detroit Lions. They hold the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft, and this week it was rumored the team was maybe planning on moving on. It can hardly get out of my mouth. Moving on from their veteran quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Lions executive VP and general manager Bob Quinn refuted those reports. He actually called them 100% false. So Quinn denying the rumors. I don't know. Shrakes, you said this the other day. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Take a look at this draft order. The only two teams who have locked in their starting quarterback are the Redskins and the Giants. This offseason is about to get crazy, especially leading up to the draft in Vegas. Dalton could be on the move. Rivers is a free agent. Panthers won't publicly commit to Cam Newton, and now there are rumors out of Detroit, of all places. Shrakes, are we expecting some of these teams to try to move up the board to snag one of the top prospects that you outlined, a Tua, a Joe?
Joe Burrow, Tua, Justin Herbert might be in that conversation. The Lions is really rich. At 3 overall, that is you don't ever want to be at 3 overall. And they have a franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who's under contract, and although he's coming off an injury, had a great season up until the injury last year. Yet these teams might come calling because Tua and Burrow and Herbert are all really attractive pieces. So could they trade back? Maybe. Could they trade Stafford and then draft a quarterback? That would be the boldest move we've seen. And yet a few years back, Alex Smith was sitting pretty as a Pro Bowl quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kansas City fell in love with a prospect named Patrick Mahomes and decided, you know what? We are still going to trade up to number 10 and eventually give up that quarterback and go with the young guy. Bob Quinn and I guess Matt Patricia, I wouldn't say are in the same position as Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and John Dorsey was then.
Do you feel like Matt Patricia has to win now?
I feel like Matt Patricia is on a let's get this thing done, and Martha Ford, the owner, has said, I want to see wins. So if that's the case, it would be a huge surprise in a win-now year when, let's put all the pieces together, with Stafford with so many years left on the contract and all the money he's being owed, that they still have to eat a lot of that for them to then say, no, you know what, we're going to scrap it all and go with a rookie. I'd be really surprised if that was the case. It would
cost the Lions $11 million, around $11 million if they trade or released Matthew Stafford.
Could they keep Stafford and draft a quarterback?
How does that go?
They could.
I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's at the end of his deal, you know, and you draft a quarterback. I mean, you have the win-now situation going into this year, but then you draft a quarterback for the future because, you know, we know what happens.
This isn't Eli, though, right? This isn't a 37-year-old guy, or this isn't... I mean,
but you just gave a perfect example of what happened with the Chiefs. Alex Smith was getting paid top dollar, and then they drafted Pat Mahomes, and Pat Mahomes actually set his rookie season.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden they traded Alex Smith. We were all a little bit shocked. It's like, how do you trade a guy who constantly gets his team into the playoffs and then put in this young Pat Mahomes? Turns out it was the best
Stafford. How would that go over with Stafford?
Stafford has been an absolute pro. He's never complained about the talent around him or lack thereof. He's not one of those individuals that goes up to the organization and says, either trade me or put some guys around me that can make this team better. If he were in a position where they drafted a guy or they even traded Matt Stafford, he would show up and play football because that's what he loves to do. The only thing that makes sense is the fact that dollars and cents are the only things that some teams care about. The question is, where are they at as an organization? I've talked about it before, and I'll say it again. When I talked to Phil Simms about quarterbacks nowadays making so much money, he said eventually there's going to come a time in the NFL where a majority of the teams will walk away from top dollar quarterbacks. And I'm like, Phil Simms, what do you mean? That sounds like the craziest idea ever. You're talking about a decent quarterback, even a top tier quarterback. You're going to walk away because you want to get a cheaper QB? He was like, yeah. Look at Russell Wilson when he first won a contract. You look at Carson Wentz's team when they won their
Jared Goff.
when they won their Super Bowls. These guys are all in rookie deals. The moment they get to the big deal is when their team starts to struggle and they can't provide that guy with talent. You know, Cece has been talking about it all week. Matt Stafford is an individual that can still go out there and grip it and rip it. But if they're at a position where they're actually thinking about it, what have we been saying all week? The phrase that you said earlier, if there's smoke, there's fire. And I feel like there might be fire in this situation.
Well, I don't want anybody to get fired if I'm working in the front office with the coaching staff with the Lions. So when I'm seeing Schrager talk to me about Isaiah Simmons, when I'm seeing you talk to me and you just showed me what Chase Young can do on the field for that Detroit defense, I want to win now. I want to win now, and I better win with Matthew Stafford because we are giving him so many bags of money. $11 million against the cap. If you trade or get rid of him, this isn't the year for them to take a quarterback.
I don't see it, and yet
the Chiefs did it though. Like in recent,
different.
How is it different? Tell me how it's different. It might be even harder for the Chiefs to make the decision because Alex Smith was actually getting his team to the playoffs.
Was it different because he was the 10th pick and not the 3rd?
Maybe. I feel like to Kay's point, you don't ever want to pick 3rd. All right? You don't ever want to pick 3rd. And if you desperately need a quarterback, you take a quarterback. You have the quarterback. That's not why you're not winning. What you need is a dynamic game changer on either defense or on offense that isn't the quarterback. You have Stafford, unless you don't like Stafford, unless you want to be out on Stafford.
Stafford's great, but they're not winning. It's like Alex Smith. What was the ceiling there? Going to the playoffs 6 out of 7 years, but take me to the ship.
Listen, being a former Detroit Lion, let me give you the pulse of the team.
Okay.
The pulse of the team and the organization, they love Matt Stafford. He's an absolute leader. He's a beast on the field. He's tough as it gets. He does it for the right reasons. Name one time you've ever heard him talk about money. He doesn't. It just so happens he gets paid a lot of money because he's good at what he does. Now, when it comes to the city, the pulse of the cities and the fan base, and I can keep it real with you, they're constantly wondering if they should go in a different direction because is the talent of Matt Stafford and the money we're paying him worth not being able to provide the rest of the team with better talent or upgrade? So there's this weird dynamic between the organization and players and how much they love Matt Stafford and the city saying, well, other teams are moving on and went cheaper at the quarterback position and built around that guy. Why can't we? But when you think about Matt Stafford, and Cece, you mentioned this earlier in the show, you mentioned it earlier in the week as well, Matt Stafford was banged up and he was on his way to having a really good season. So being a pitcher, you know this, you can't judge a guy while he's injured. You almost have to give him one last opportunity, especially if he's been there doing it the right way for a long time. Shouldn't we just ride this out one more year and say, all right, Matt, this is your last go at it, and if you can stay healthy, we'll see if you can actually be the man for the job. Because he has receivers and running backs now. There's no excuses.
So you think he's loaded and ready to go right now?
No doubt about it. Look at the talent. He has a young tight end they drafted.
Yeah, of course.
He has 2 wide receivers that are beasts.
Yeah.
He has running backs that are good. So there is no excuses now.
Okay. Do you think in this draft teams are going to trade up?
I do.
I look at the Chargers. You think that
I think
they could move up and jump the Dolphins for Tua? I think they can talk Easton Stick and Tyrod Taylor all they want, but I think we're going to see some moves.
Absolutely, the Chargers are certainly a team you can circle. I also look at this quarterback draft class. I mentioned Tua and Joe Burrow and Herbert, kinda, but it's not like the year where there was Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen and Lamar Jackson. This quarterback draft class is not the quarterback draft class of recent years. So you've got 2 main guys, and if the first one is going to go first overall, that second one, Tua, whether it be the Dolphins, whether it be the Chargers, whether it be the Panthers, whether it be any of these teams that need a quarterback, it's very intriguing because of what Nate just said. Cost-efficient analysis says you go with the rookie if you want to go with the rookie because you're paying him so little, and especially in this day and age when all of these young quarterbacks are having success out of the gates, it's very cost-effective to go with that than signing Andy Dalton for $20 million and hoping for the best.
It gives you a 3 or 4 year window, right? If you sign a rookie quarterback, then all of a sudden you know he's going to be on that rookie deal. You'll just start building around that individual. And then once it comes to him wanting more money, then that's when things change. Just look how hard it is for Russell Wilson to get back, Aaron Rodgers to get back. Like it happened. Carson Wentz just signed that big deal. That's why we're having this conversation about Dak Prescott every damn day because we're wondering if we pay him $40 million or close to, will this team ever be the same?
I think it goes Burrow 1, Tua somewhere in 2, 3, 4 range, and then there might be a drop-off. Like, it's 1 and 2, those 2 guys, and nothing against Herbert or
Herbert
Love.
Maybe. That's his nickname.
Yeah,
Herbert
but like Herbert might go top 10, but in another draft class wouldn't have gone top 10. It's because of everyone's need for quarterbacks. So, to me, if you fall in love with Tua, which a lot of teams will, especially at the combine.
No doubt about it.
You start getting these trigger fingers, and you're like, all right, let's do it. Here's 2 first-round picks. Let's go. And you're like, what'd I do? I have Tua as my quarterback, But that's what happens on draft day.
Your Raiders did great on draft day last year.
We did.
I mean, they're young
they
and
might need a quarterback.
They're excited.
Yeah, we'll
and that's what we're
Would you
trying
want
to get
Tua
to.
in Vegas?
I would love to see Tua in Vegas.
Bring some excitement.
Yeah.
There's also teams that swing and miss, and I'm not going to call it a complete miss because I don't want to be disrespectful, but
Don't talk about my hometown like that.
The Bears.
Don't talk about my
Bears
hometown.
drafting Mitchell Trubisky.
You see how well I know him?
Was that not a shocker?
They traded up.
They traded up.
They traded up
to get Mitchell Trubisky, and that's the risk you take
Yeah.
because you get so excited. You get those sweaty palms, and you're like, you know what? It's draft day. I want that guy.
Yeah.
The question is, who's going to do that? Because to Schrager's point, it will happen. Regardless of how we look at this draft class, something very shocking will happen within the first 15 picks.
But
No doubt about
the
it.
loaded Lions. The loaded Lions with healthy Matthew Stafford going right to the Super Bowl, according to Nate Burleson.
Well, you had a Super Bowl.
We'll be back just as long as the Browns take the AFC North. That's all we want on this show. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We're going to tell you the incredible story of a former NFL player who's inspiring change on and off the field. And none of us grew up